We have fallen down again tonight. In this world, it's hard to get it right. Trying to make your heart fit like a glove. Oh, what it needs is love, love, love. In the words of a dear friend, this is my love song to you. Okay, technically, that was Ingrid Michaelson's song. But the next 15 minutes and 29 seconds are my song. They're part of my love story. And now each of you play a role. 11 years ago, to this very day, I severed ties with 2 sexual predators. Unfortunately, those 2 predators were also my parents. Tomorrow is what I call my Freedom Day, the day where I celebrate my sovereignty and mourn the losses I have suffered. As I mourn my losses, I've created space to gain so much. I've gained clarity about who I am and what it means to be free. I want to share with you one of the most important lessons I've learned in freedom. If you're willing, please close your eyes. I want you to think about your story, the terms and labels that you identify with. For me, they are Bay Area native, a woman, a backpacker, a survivor of child abuse and incest, a survivor of slavery and human trafficking. Now, with your eyes still closed, please raise your hand if you identify with anything I just shared about myself. All right, thank you. Now, raise your hand if you identify as a prostitute. Okay. Raise your hand if you'd like to be called a prostitute. And lastly, raise your hand if you've ever used the services of a prostitute. All right, go ahead and open your eyes. One of the most important lessons I've learned in freedom is that there is no such thing as a prostitute. As you can imagine, no one raised their hand to state that they were a prostitute, and no one raised their hand to say that they wanted to be called one. And no one, I'm pretty sure, despite the blinding lights, raised their hand to identify that they use the services of a prostitute. In an audience this large, that is highly unlikely. So why is it that so few people raise their hands? Shame. In our collective consciousness, we believe that prostitutes are pariahs, that they are inherently shameful. There is something wrong with them for what they do with their bodies, and they do not deserve our association. They, along with pedophiles, are among the lowest status of our humanity. What we have failed to recognize is that they are not inherently shameful. We have assigned this shame. We have assigned this low status, and we use this low status in order to justify the way that we treat the people we call prostitutes. Now, what is a prostitute anyway? I've traveled the country training and speaking, and I've asked people, what do you think about when you hear the word prostitute? 2 things come up. 1, a woman. 2, someone who sells sex. Now let's set aside the fact that there are men and children who sell sex, and let's interrogate the stereotype. So yes, there are women who sell sex. But what is inherently shameful about that? For the most part, in our society, we believe that people who sell sex are disgusting. There's something wrong with them. I mean, it's okay to like sex, but they like it a little too much. And they like it so much, they want to do it all the time. That's not normal, right? And if I go buy them, it's because I'm doing them a favor. That's all they're good for. They're not smart enough to do something else. Some of you anti-trafficking activists or others might think, no. No one there has any choice to be there. They're forced to be there. They have no agency. Those poor, pitiful prostitutes. We just need to save them and help teach them our clean, dignified, pure ways of living. All right, some of you might be thinking, Min, you're being a little harsh. I might have thought some of those things, but I don't really believe they're shameful. I'm a progressive Berkeley grad. I mean, everyone can be whoever they want in Berkeley, right? And if you really have never thought any of those thoughts that I shared or something similar, Can you please introduce yourself to me after, because you are a rare species? Now, what does that mean for the rest of us? That means that we have and we continue to contribute to assigning shame to the people we call prostitutes. Now, before you clutch your pearls and write yourself off as an exception, I want to tell you that I am one of the most complicit people that I know. I have believed that prostitutes are shameful since I was little. I mean, this little. I know I'm really cute, and it's kind of a low blow to put a child picture in there. It was that or cat videos, but it's a Sears family photo, so you had to put that in there. Despite my cuteness, my father was raping me at this age. And it was this age that I began to believe that I was a prostitute. See, I was too young to know the word for prostitute or sex, but I knew that my mother felt about me the way she felt about the other women and children my father was using. And I knew she felt that I was a mistress that he was using to cheat on her. To my mother, I was the sexual predator. My father wasn't the pedophile. I was making my father do this to me with my disgusting sluttiness. My mother wasn't harming me. I was harming her. We call this projection. My mother did not feel ashamed. She made me feel ashamed, and that I felt in spades. And in an act my therapist calls purifying the parents, I took the shame out of my parents and I put it in me. I took the badness out of them and I put it in me. Because if I was bad, then I gained hope. I could do something about it. And everybody else who was doing what I was doing was also bad, and they could fix themselves too. See, at this age, you're in what we call the magic years. Kids believe in Superman and superheroes. I believe that a prostitute was just like one of those superheroes, an identity that we created. The thing is that we tell children, or they figure out, that Superman and Santa Claus and superheroes don't exist. We don't tell people that about prostitutes. We don't say to them that there's no such thing as a prostitute. We don't say there's no such thing as good people who have good sex and bad people who have bad sex. We don't tell them the truth, which is that there's no such thing as sexual virtue. Because it is not the act of having sex, selling sex, or even buying sex that is the problem. Predation is the problem. Sexual predation is one form of predation, one way that we prey on another human being. But sexual predation is not about sex, it is about power. It is about dominating another human being. And this is where projection and shame come back in. In order to dominate another human being, we need to make them less than we are. We project our shame onto them and say, I'm not disgusting, you're disgusting. You are not worthy of the same rights and dignity that I am worthy of, and I can use any excuse to make that so. We use this projection and shame to justify our violence towards one another, whether that violence is a microaggression or complete enslavement. Our shame, unfettered, can do harm. We try to pass it on to someone else. I don't want to feel bad, you feel bad. So I mentioned I'm complicit, right? In college, a friend of mine told me that she was molested by her father. I said, I don't believe you. I don't recommend doing that. It was pretty awful. The truth is I didn't believe myself, and I could not admit that I felt so ashamed of the fact that in college, my father was still raping me and my mother and father were selling me while I went to this university. I didn't want to feel bad. I wanted her to feel bad, and her to feel bad for making me feel bad. I tried to give her my shame. Luckily, I evolved, and I went back and I apologized to this friend a few years later, and she was gracious and accepting, but I still feel sad and bad about the ways that I did harm to that relationship. Every day, there are people like me who try and pass on the pain and shame of what was done to them because they cannot deal with it. My parents did this. They did this to an extreme, But predators are people who cannot love any longer, but they weren't born this way. Their capacity to love was destroyed. Every day, we can destroy our capacity to love. Or, I'm asking you to stretch your capacity to love a little bit further. I want you to think about the people to whom you give your shame, whether that's someone who sells sex, a trans person, a Republican, someone who has high heels, someone who, for me, it used to be someone who highlighted their hair. Think about the people who you need to be bad and ask yourself, why do I need them to be in the shameful category? Why do I need them to be bad? And think about, now ask yourself, what do I feel bad about? What do I feel ashamed of? It is time that we release the people we call prostitutes from our moral indictment, from passing on our shame. What if people who sell sex willingly are not prostitutes, but sex workers who have rights and who also need our support and who have probably been through trauma as well? What if people who were forced to sell sex are brilliant and clever and smart and enterprising and traumatized and need our help, but don't need us to save them? If your social justice work is rooted in soothing your own shame by trying to be good enough and saving everyone, well, unfortunately, join the club. But join me in also transforming our motivations. Join me in healing ourselves and our communities, not other people's communities over there. Anti-trafficking work isn't just about ending sexual violence. We need to think about how each of us play a role in dehumanizing someone. This journey is not just about healing our own pain and shame, but thinking about the ways that we can pass it on, that we have the capacity to do harm as well. You're going to walk away from this talk asking and wondering, what's an action step? How do I help people who went through what Min went through? How do I take action and join the anti-trafficking movement? Dealing with your projected shame is the action step that I'm giving you. It is a hard one. But anti-trafficking work, like any other social justice work, is about how we can dehumanize someone, make someone less than we are, and justify how they deserve less than we do. I've learned that as I deal with my shame, my social justice work becomes more about walking, doing, speaking with, rather than for another person. This is a group of women who have walked with me. My understanding of freedom has been profoundly affected by them and many others who are not pictured here. These smiles are hard-won. They were fought for with tears. They were fought for through hard conversations about how we want to pass our shame onto other people. You know, those people who don't deal with their childhood stuff. And how we try to pass our shame to one another. These women and many others helped me believe and understand that there is no such thing as a prostitute. They helped me understand that I was never, am not, and will never be a prostitute. One more time, I'm going to ask you to close your eyes. Think about a time that you felt deep shame. Now think about someone who loved you in that shame. Maybe they thought that you had nothing to feel ashamed of. Or maybe they could sit with you in that healthy shame and walk with you on the journey out of that. That feeling is what we need more of. No one deserves to be in the category of shameful. We all deserve love, and we all deserve to love. I started with a song. I'm going to end with a verse from that same song. Happy is the heart that still feels pain. Darkness drains and light will come again. Swing open up your chest and let it in. Just let the love, love, love begin. Everyone, if you haven't already, open your eyes and let the love begin.